Good afternoon, everyone. This is Danny from Three Kingdoms Games, welcoming you to a deck tech video. Today, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be talking about a discard deck, a Grixis discard deck. Let me open this up and I'll show you the contents of the deck. Okay, so this deck, there are a number of different discard decks that are out there right now online. I mean, if you just go to YouTube or you just go on Google and you search for, MTG Arena discard, you're going to find a bunch of them that are available out there. I chose Grixis. I chose this version of the deck because I find this deck is the one that's most successful. I mean, the success rate is still, I think we're talking about I've played like 18, 19 games using this deck, and I won like 60% of them. So it's not obviously it's not a top tier deck, but it's it's pretty good for a kind of janky discard deck. I was able to beat decks like mono red. I was able to beat control decks. I was able to beat some mid-range decks. What I couldn't beat was I found that this deck, I wasn't able to beat any of the large creature like mono green Stompy or anything that was able to ramp up the creatures, like large creatures, very, very quickly. But let's go over this deck to kind of show you what it's all about, and maybe in the next video I'll put some gameplay of this deck on YouTube as well on our channel. So we have a number of smaller spells. So the first one is we have Terramander. We have actually three copies of Terramander in here. It's a great card, especially for 1 mana, and the ability to be able to grow this creature to a 5/5 is awesome, right? Especially if you have enough cards that allows you to adapt much quicker than using the 8 mana that it shows on this card. So it's a great early threat. People have to, your opponents would have to try to figure out how to get rid of it earlier on. Otherwise, casting this on turn 1 against red decks is great because if they cast like a Fanatical Firebrand, right, you can always use Terramander to block to kind of save your life during the early game within your matches. We have obviously this being a Grixis deck, and discard is being, discard is a great spell. Discard is the theme that we're trying to go after. Having Carnival Carnage is great because, again, for aggro decks out there, you can use Carnival to get rid of their creatures, but then later on you use Carnage to get them to discard, as well as dealing damage to them. I have Searchforce Cantas in here, help me kind of cycle through my deck. Lightning Strikes for earlier, bigger threats, what is it? The black green decks out there, the black green mid-range decks out there that like to grow their creatures. Basically anything. Lightning Strike is always good, and having access to red should always provide you with that capability. Again, Thought Erasure. This is the all-star card in this deck. Thought Erasure is amazing. It allows you to basically set up your deck using the Surveil capability, but then also gets rid of cards from your opponent's deck as well. I have 2 copies of Drill Bit in here. I thought about having multiple copies of Drill Bit, but Drill Bit, it doesn't really help you that much if during the late game. Right, during the late game, when your opponent has already played most of their spells in their hand, and then you top decking a Drill Bit, it's kind of pointless. So that's why I was for the discard spells that are in this deck, having cards like a Carnival Carnage that can do multiple things, right? So this card deals damage as well as discarding cards. Thought Erasure allows you to get rid of your opponent's cards in their hand, as well as helps you fix your deck, right? So multi-purpose cards that allow you to get rid of cards from your opponent's hand is the way to go, which is why I only have 2 copies of Drill Bit in this deck. 3 copies of Chemist's Insight. It's a great card. Again, helps you with card draw. Ritual of Soots to get rid of all your opponent's aggro creatures. 4 Vraskas. I only have four cards in here that can get rid of large creatures, and these are them. Vraska's Contempts basically can get rid of anything from Gigantosauruses to Goreclaws, right? Again, that is the Achilles heel of this deck is ramped creatures that are 4 toughness and bigger, right? Those are the hardest creatures to get rid of, because we don't have that many answers. We do have answers, in terms of Terramander growing to a 5/5. We have answers like Vraska's Contempts, but other than that, and we also have Doom Whisperers, right? But other than that, very few answers for large creature decks. Nicol Bolas. Have to include big bad Nicol Bolas in this deck because, again, dual purpose. You have a 4/4 flyer that can turn into a planeswalker, and when he comes into the battlefield, your opponent discards one of their cards. Doom Whisperer is great as an end game, a late game threat. You cast Doom Whisperer on turn 5, and it's pretty much over, right? Having the ability to surveil. As well as having flying and trample for a 6/6 creature on 5 mana, great card. And then the final 2 cards that are in this deck that helps us with getting rid of our opponent's hand is the Eldest Reborn. Okay, doesn't do anything on the first turn, right? But you can get rid of planeswalkers, you can get rid of creatures, and then on turn 2, obviously the opponent has to discard a card. And then we have 2 copies of Angrath. Again, it's a great finisher. Angrath, every +1 gets rid of a card from your opponent's deck, and then you can use its -3 capability to kind of steal their creatures to attack their owner for that final maybe 3 or 4 points of life to kind of just close out the game. Mana base wise, we have basically mostly all dual lands, right? So we only have 2 copies of Swamps, okay, 2 Swamps. We have Drowned Catacombs, Watery Graves, Steam Vents, Sulphur Falls, Blood Crypts, and Dragon Skull Summits. So this is it. This is Grixis Discard. Again, I like playing this because usually I like cards that give you options, and this deck definitely gives you options. Most of these cards provide you with abilities to do one or multiple things, 1 or 2 things, and then you have really high value cards like Search for Ascantas and Lightning Strikes, so Chemist's Insights, which basically allows you to jumpstart. So this deck I think is pretty fun to play, especially if you like playing kind of not combo-y, but other not just creature-based decks, right? And I'm that type of player. I don't like just playing creature-based decks. It doesn't mean that I don't like playing decks that have creatures in them. I just want more options for me. So this is one. These types of decks are my favorite decks to play. So tell me what you think about this deck in the comments below. We are fastly growing our channel, so please click on subscribe to get so that you get notified if you click on the bell icon if additional videos come online. Saul and I are busy trying to create these videos and create content for you guys to kind of see. If you guys like some of these videos and want to talk to us about building these decks, please drop by one of our 2 locations, one that's in Markham and the other based in Toronto. And that's all I have for you today. This is Grixis Discard, and my name is Danny, signing off for 3 Kingdoms Games.